Yo, what's up, YouTubers? Okay, I'm gonna turn this AC down, but I'm in Weedy. We're not here at the McDonald's, but I'm in the parking lot of the QT here in Sanger. And I was thinking about some stuff I heard some people talking or whatever, and I was just driving it coming to town. I lost my weed eater string, so I had to buy a new thing of string. And I was thinking about how being out on the road and everything, and how people want to be a part of something, and they strive. And I was thinking about myself and everything. I'm like, that's not really it. That's not really it. I mean, if you're a part of an organization, it's a giant pain in the butt. You got all these politics and personalities and yada yada yada, but God is so intimate with each one of us. He doesn't tolerate us in our sin, in our less than. He intimately cares for us and wants us and empowers us to do better, to be better, to excel in his plan for us, which is good. And that's a mouthful right there. And that's a certain assurance that we have that's it's not to be trifled with, and it ain't nothing to sneeze at. Well, I see this old boy, and he's talking about some people want to belong. And I was like, yeah, I guess. But then I was like, no, not really. And it's kind of like one of them deals where, like, it needs to be done. And then, like, there's some way I could set this thing up. And people that enjoy that type of behavior can get together and do it. That would be great. But, for myself, it's always been just run over there, put the fire out. Run over here, put the fire out. Run over there, run over here. And a lot of putting the fire out is, the fire is going to burn either way, but perhaps the kinfolk don't have to go to hell. It always comes back to that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why we sing songs about how good Jesus is. Because, like, you don't want to catch on fire. And I literally tried to pay somebody $200 cash yesterday to read the Bible. Just to promise to read it. So he had enough integrity that he didn't take the money. Because he knew it would be a promise. I laughed at him. I said, you're going to be reading the Bible. Because I knew, because he had integrity, that just that it was that serious a thing. And he was selling books about the Bible. Like, who comes to your house selling books? That's the first time I haven't even heard of that since, long, long ago. And I'm like, are you plotting on me or whatever? I'm following around the neighborhood at a distance to see if he's really selling books or some kind of ought-not. And he seemed legit. Anyway, before he left, I laughed. And I said, you're going to be reading the Bible in a couple days, and you're going to realize it. Because I told him, I said, if you'll read the Bible for 10 minutes a day for 40 days, I'll give you $200. And I'm like, that's, long enough to set kind of a pattern or whatever like that. And then, a couple $100 to a traveling salesman is incredible. Anyway, I talked to him quite a while, and he was putting up with it because he's trying to make a sale. And I guess I probably should have just bought some books off of him. But anyway, I left him with much more. And then, because he didn't take the deal, I talked to him a little bit more. And I said 60. And he says, well, I guess or whatever. I said, no, 60 days now because you made me wait. You know what I mean? And I kind of laughed a little bit. And I told him some more about the Bible and why it would benefit him. And then I took the money out. I unfolded it because I got a little pouch, you know what I mean, in my wallet. So I keep a stash over here and a stash over there. And I'm able to, I get that out, but it takes me a minute to unfold it and everything and talk to him. And the funny part was, it's like, I just knew that God was letting me keep my money, which I ain't working right now. I don't need to be giving away $200 anyway. But it's so worth it, And as I was driving, I thought about that guy. I seen him on a podcast or whatever, and he was talking about it. And he said something about belonging. And then I was thinking about, years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, I just like really focused. I didn't even know the guy's name. I just know that he was singing songs for Five Finger Death Punch. And what I was living, the songs kind of lined up. You know what I mean? It's like, I was working for people in Minnesota, and like one of the songs is like, "Don't you know?" It's just like, everybody up there's like, "Don't you know?" all the time. I never heard anybody say that a lot until I went to work there at Trucking Pros out of Wisconsin, Minnesota, somewhere up there. Anyways, worked there for about a year, and that's when that song came out. And I was like, this, it's like they're singing the soundtrack to my life. I might as well, pray for these people or whatever. You know what I mean? And when I sing their songs, I sing with an intensity to God. Like, that's my thing. You know what I mean? So I want to worship God, but I want to jam out doing it. You know what I'm saying? And so I started praying for that guy because he sounded like he had a lot of pain. And then the soldiers and stuff like that, I always pray for them a lot. And then every time I run across a veteran, I recommend the Book of David. Like the books that have stories about David, First and Second Kings, First and Second Chronicles, the Psalms, And then I talked to the guy at the gun range. He owns the gun range. And he said he struggled with Psalms. I was like, dude, those are song lyrics. He's like, oh, well, that makes a lot more sense. So just being there in the moment. So I've been at home about 8 days. I've borderline been harassing the community. The 5-minute ministries turned into the 15 to 30 minutes. They're too polite to tell me shut up type of deal. And then a couple of them are like, you should come to our establishment and be a keynote speaker. So I told the guy, I was like, well, most of the time people are trying to get me to shut up. I can't believe you actually want me to come over there and talk. He was like, yeah, the way you're talking, bro, we need you. Anyways, that was encouraging. And then, I'm restructuring. They got that bankruptcy or whatever. Oh, I was going to say, I started praying for that guy, specifically the singer. And then, I don't know, it was probably 2 years later, because I'm not like a fanboy. So I don't like keep up with that stuff. It's just like, okay, this is a good song, I'm singing it or whatever. And then for you, I've never watched an episode of Oprah Winfrey back in the day or nothing, right? But I've been praying for Oprah off and on for freaking 25 years. I don't even know why. I'm just like, God, help Oprah, turn her life around and rededicate to you and get right or whatever. So that one's not really working out from what I can tell. But the old boy singing for Five Finger Death Punch, it seemed like, I found out recently that he went through this alcoholic state of dismay to whatever degree and pulled through it. You know what I mean? And I was looking at the times and everything and when the albums come out or whatever and stuff like that. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's ridiculously close to when I started seriously including him in the prayer list. You know what I mean? And I don't have some set time where I just sat down and pray or whatever else like that. I literally talk to God ongoing all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a consistent thing. And when I'm by myself and I'm trying to talk to YouTubers, it seems like that's when it comes out, and for this platform. And then when I'm with the individual in the moment talking, I bought camera thing for my hat. It's like a trail cam and all that, and like a body cam years ago. And I would witness to people, and it never worked out. And God showed me that's personal, man. That ain't nobody else's business. I can't be posting that on the internet. But if I want to talk about my business, that's my choice. So that's why I choose to do it. You know what I mean? I want to be a encouragement and a help. So anyway, I've been running around the community out here. I stopped and went to the bank. I went and got the tag for the truck and everything. Talked to 8 people in there or in that area. I mean, one of them happened to be a lady at the bank, and she was from Iran. And the conversation was like slavery, like the slaves. You know what I mean? Like she had no idea that the Irish came over as slaves, and I was like, you got to realize. I was like, you see a guy like me, I was wearing a decent shirt or whatever, and she could see the account, and I'm just like, what y'all don't realize is, I've been working like a Hebrew slave for freaking, since I was 7 years old. I bought a truck. I cut wood and stuff and mowed grass and bought a F-150 when I was 7 years old. I am 45 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I guarantee you 35 years of my life, I'm going on 5 hours of sleep and 17 hours of work. It's like, you don't understand how hard people worked around here until this last generation, because for some reason, like the money just like, I don't know what happened. Like, they just moved the decimal point 2 sections over. Like $1 now is like a penny back then. And some places have caught up with that, and some places have not. So, if you work where, they're giving out dollars like pennies, and then you live where the economy is, everybody's 1980, you know what I mean? You go up there and be like, hey, how much you want for that chicken? They're like $5. You know what I mean? But then, you go buy a leg hen in one of these towns or something, then you buy chicks. You're lucky to get 2 chicks for $5 and have to feed them and raise them up, and they're liable to die and everything else before you ever see an egg. But I know places where I could go up there to a chicken that's 2 years old and actively laying brown eggs and give them $5 for that chicken. And which is also more expensive than buying eggs because we have birds. So it's like, do I feed the neighborhood wildlife chicken, or I just buy eggs from the neighbor and their chickens are walking around in my yard? Like, my chickens get eat, and then the neighbor's chickens just walk around in my yard, and then I buy the eggs from the neighbor. So I don't know. I guess I wasn't meant to be a chicken farmer. I guess I know everything about chickens. Like I've hauled chickens. I've caught chickens in an industrial chicken house. I've built the houses. I've done the installing the stuff for egg houses. And like I did, yeah. The Lord blessed me that I don't have to deal with chicken shit no more. We'll call that one a win. Anyways, the journey is amazing. The adventure is, I really don't think it ends. I know that, history will play out, and then there's like what happens after and all that type of deal. Don't get me wrong. But even that's part of the adventure. It's so cool. I mean, really, like really, really, there's like hanging out with your boys. Like, say you like car clubs, motorcycles, whatever. Especially the motorcycles, it's real obvious. You get them in a group, they start popping the wheelies and doing dumb stuff and not paying attention, and it goes bad, right? They fall down, they tear up their bike, they wreck, try to show off to their boys or whatever else like that. Well, this is kind of like that, it's like it's got the adventure stuff, but it's just me and Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, he knows all of it, right? And then there's times where, I go through every possible articulable emotion in my relationship with Jesus. And that can be, it's more than I can articulate. And it's so varied and it's so different. You know what I mean? Like, if you're, it's kind of like making a cake, you put your ingredients together and everything, and then the right order and everything, and it comes out one way. What's those pies that puff up? The souffle? Sometimes they'll come out lopsided. Sometimes they come out looking like a picture. And you adjust and you learn how to cook. You know what I'm saying? And man, you get out here cooking with Jesus where everything's just clicking. And it's ultimate satisfaction. The whatever it costs you to do it, that's really hard to let go. That's what they was talking about at CR. I went to the CR thing and they were talking about confessing your sin. We went in that little room. I can't tell you what everybody else said. I can tell you what I said. I said, I don't need none of you people. All y'all's human. Y'all are dangerous. I don't trust none of you. There's not a human on this planet that I would tell everything to. But I don't need you. I have Jesus. Like, I can tell everything to Jesus. And he ain't gonna rat, and he already knows. So it's easy to confide. You know what I mean? You ever have like something, you go talk to your dad, you know, and you're like, oh, Dad, I gotta tell you something, man. I kicked the cat. I pulled my sister's hair when I was 12. Or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like not even a big deal. And he's like, yeah, I know. It's okay, son. That was 35 years ago. And that's like, I guess it's a step 4 or whatever like that. My wife does those deals down there. Apparently everybody died, and then like being my wife is enough to cause you traumatic stress. Oh man, she don't know how to laugh about it. I say that and laugh, but that's my mechanism for coping. Anyways, with a face like this, you got to have a sense of humor, right? Anyways, there's a lot of people that think that this whole kit and caboodle is going to fold up. And they're right. The Bible says it rolls up like a scroll. It says Mystery Babylon falls before that. You know what I mean? So with that running in the back of my mind, you know, I put projected the phone onto the TV and let old Dennis watch old Fox. And he was talking about, you know, you're moving to the country. He's like, oh, I'm going to get this gun, and I'm going to get this rifle, and I'm going to have this pistol. I definitely need a Desert Eagle and all this. I'm just like, Dennis, why don't you watch the guy that's done it, and then we'll talk about guns at the end. Watch the whole thing. And he looked at me. He was like, I didn't think about half of that stuff. I said, how many guns did he talk about going to get? He was like, he didn't talk about guns at all. He was more like, if you're going to move to the country and eat a lot of peaches, you know, do some research on the area. Go apply for some work. Figure out what your job's going to be, where you're going to live. You know, hang out at the coffee shop. Make a connection. You know, get it how you live. Find the people that you're talking to and say, hey, do you know where there's a place to rent? Do you know where there's a place to buy? You know what I mean? And which all that is stuff that I've known. I grew up that way. It's not a competition, but the way I grew up was, you know, lived at the end of the last dirt road and just barely surviving. And then, but it was because we just moved out there. We moved out there when I was 3 or 4 years old. So I grew up like clear the land, dig the water well, blah, 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 watching Dad, Mom, and the uncle struggle. You know, Grandpa was with us there for a while, but he died. And then, like, yeah. So the lessons of the woods, but I had the travel of the trucking. So when the summertime would come around and I was up big enough, I would go and I would unload the trucks. Dad would give me a penny a mile to navigate on the Atlas to get us to our destinations and stuff like that. And then back then you'd unload your own truck, fill out a lumber sheet, write some false name on there, and collect. So you might have 5 stops, and you do, you know, $75 at each stop for your lumber fee. You know, that ain't nothing to sneeze at when you're 10 years old. And then since we're in California, we're out there like Oakland and stuff, they got that flea market. You can go out there. They had these like lightning t-shirts that looked very vivid, like real lightning. And nobody where I come from had seen anything like that. So I just spent all my lumber money buying all these shirts and stuff, and they had about 13 designs, and I got like 100 of each shirt, you know what I mean? And then flipping the t-shirts and stuff. And it's so funny to me because now you see people on YouTube and they like got their own t-shirt or whatever, and I'm like, I get nostalgia. To me, it's like, you know, long-haired Metallica days. You know what I mean? When I see that stuff. And then, you know, the progression of stuff. You know, I don't want to down anybody that's selling T-shirts, and I mean, more power to you. You can do it, you know. But at this stage of my life, a lot of that stuff is so trivial. You know, like today, I'm out there. I got the blower going. I got the weed eater going, and like I got cracks in my paved driveway. So I'm like contemplating: do I go get some sealer and just, you know, seal this up, or, you know, do I just pour out this salt in a bucket of water and just pour salt water all over the whole thing to try to kill any plants from growing in my driveway, type of deal. I think it's going to be a little bit of both, because it's partial gravel part. But I'm talking to a guy. It's $29,000 for them to lay a layer of asphalt over my driveway, and I'm like, I'm not spending $29,000. You know what I mean? And then I'm starting a new job, so I just got a little time. Look at that, man. He's got everything you need to mow the driveway. I see that, and I'm like, maybe I'll just buy some weed eater string off of him. Look at that. They just pulled up and stopped. They just got out of the truck and everything. They're like, well, we'll just park right here. Oh, he's letting them out. It's hot down here, boys. Yesterday and today was so hot. I think just doing the weed eating, if I just leave it alone, I'm worried that if I pour the salt water on it, that it might react with the sealer. I'll have to do the sealer before the winter, though, because if it, you know, fills up with water and freezes, it'll crack up bigger. I'll get out. I seen one deal, they got like a clay silica sand filler that you spread out, let it get into crack, go one way, then brush it in, and then go the other way, brush it in. But then you got to put a sealer over that, and, you know, a pallet of that's, you know, $2,600, which is a lot better than $29,000. But, you know, I mean, how industrious am I? And I got to take all the furniture out of the apartment. That stuff is nice, and I got to do something with it because the renters, they're bringing their own stuff, you know, because we didn't know if we was going to Airbnb or just rent it out. And then we got some people we know that they're not really in a bind, but they're kind of in a bind, and it's cheaper to live at my apartment than these other apartments, and it's way better. Because, I mean, you know, it's way better than living in an apartment, like off the chart better. And but I'm taking like $1,000 a month less. But for 3 years, there hasn't been any money coming in from that. So, you know, take less money, let them paint it whatever color they want. I don't care. You know, so that's a thing. And then so I'm like, do I focus on fixing the driveway today, or do I, you know, load up all this stuff? And then they're going to come over Sunday, and we're going to take everything out of the shop and reorganize and stack everything in there. And the lady at work, the recruiter, she said, well, why don't you take all that furniture stuff and take it down yonder and give it to them? I was like, that's a great idea. Other than, you know, driving all the way to Austin to, you know, drive out to Hill Country. Shit, that's all the way. Hell, that's south of Austin. You got to go all the way to dang there San Antonio and then hang a right to get in the neighborhood. Yeah, but they could probably use some furniture on the cheap since everything washed away out of them towns down there. I think Comfort, Texas it's every bit a 6-hour drive one way. So I don't know that I had the effort in me to do that. But he'd probably be a good witness and deal. I probably should. It's a great idea. It really is. It's just, you know, it's already Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And they're coming over Sunday to load it. So after it gets, pull it out, load everything, am I going to have the gumption to drive all the way down there and then make it back up here and then go to orientation? And yeah, it's a lot. So, kicking that idea around, I've about talked myself out of it. And then my wife's on me, go see your dad. I'm like, that's 5 hours one way the other direction. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It was real good. Real good to see the community. The change in the community here over the last 5 years. The change in the community in our country over the last 5 years. You know what I mean? It's like God just gave us the worst leadership. And now a lot of people are like, we need Jesus. The setting where, hey, reading the Bible is cool. You go talk to one of these kids in high school. Catch one of these kids that's in a high school age, working at I talked to an old boy at the gas station. And he was probably high school age, maybe slightly out of school. Did look like he's old enough to drink, but I guarantee you he'd drink a beer if you give him one. We'll say that. Yeah, had his cowboy hat on, squared jaw. You know what I mean? He was a Texas kid. I talked to him about the Lord a little bit and everything else like that. He was super receptive. It kicked in his reminder of some of the Bible stuff he already knew, and I connected some dots. And I said, man, this Bible thing, it's more exciting than riding a bull. Have you ever jumped on a bull's back? And he looked at me and he was like, no, but you could tell he wanted to. I was like, well, when you do, when that sucker throws you off, throws you to the ground, and you get back up, and you're running like hell, get out. You just remember I told you the adventure and following and chasing after Jesus, trying to whoop the devil and save the lost. It's way more exhilarating than that. And it's going to be hard, and you just got to keep getting back up. And I mean, I wouldn't say twinkle in his eye, because it wasn't no kind of weirdo, but the look in his eye where he was just like, you know what I mean? Like, it spoke straight to the kid. And I say kid, and this kid is, 6'4", 220 with a cowboy hat on, you know what I mean? And button-down shirt, the whole 9 yards. I mean, cowboy. But he's working at a convenience store. And he's a kid, like, in 2025. Which way do you go? You know what I mean? And you could tell his generational upbringing was squared away. And that's... he probably had some horse sense. I don't know how much. To be that bold, encouraging word. To be like, hey man, this is cool. Reading the Bible and doing what it says, striving to keep the Torah is such a struggle that you will grow into Christ-likeness from the pain. You know what I mean? At the end of discipline is necessity. And when you get into necessity, which is where I live in necessity. I put myself in a bind so much. You know what I mean? Like, it's all going to burn up. You know what I mean? My kids are taken care of. They have their own lives, whatever. You know what I mean? When I pass away, is there going to be something substantial to leave to them? At the rate it's going, yeah. Quite a bit, actually. But if it all burns up tomorrow, I don't care. I need food and clothes. And I haven't ate yet. So, with that said, I'm going to go get some food. I'm wearing clothes. Hey, that's what I look like. Anyway. I'm going to go get her done. YouTubers, take it to the next level. Take it to the next level. Take it to the next level. Get out there today with your family. Do a targeted strike. Go to the dollar store or whatever, a convenience store, the mercantile, whatever. Pick 4 places to go. You know what I mean? Say, or 5, whatever. However many people's in the truck, and pick a store and go in there, and whoever can stir up a talk about Jesus, do it. You know what I mean? And then whoever ain't the one stirred up the talk, watch how it goes. Take notes. Get back in the truck and talk about it. And repeat until everybody got to witness to Jesus. You know what I mean? It's an incredible thing. It's absolutely wonderful. You know, I've never felt more closer to my wife than when me and her and Dennis was laying hands on a guy at the CR, you know, praying for his kidneys because he's about to go on dialysis. And the well-roundedness of hitting all the boxes, you know, the disciples said, Jesus, how do we pray? They did not say what. So to be able to stand there and our Father, honored is your name, your kingdom's coming, to address the Creator and speak about His name and His authority and His power and His goodness and His stature and His all-knowing perfection, the orchestra of the planets and universe, the orchestra of the mitochondria in my body, the reviving, healing life that flows through my veins that you've created. Wait, that's just the name. We thank you that we realize that we're in your kingdom. We thank you that we don't have to die and go off to some fairy tale, Peter Pan, whatever, and then something cool will happen. We thank you, Lord, that you're right here with us now, gathered in your authority, in your house, in your kinship, in your throne room, co-seated, heir to the kingdom, where we have intercessory, ongoing, unstoppable, and our internal groanings, it even comes out of us. We thank you for this great travail as we pray for the dialysis to be unnecessary. Let this be a testament of your kinship by your power. He's got all the paperwork, says he needs transplant and everything. Lord, my petition to you today is that when he goes there, that he gets the paperwork saying that he's completely healed and the doctors have done nothing to make that happen. That he has the kidneys of a 12-year-old, fully functional. And let that be for your glory. So we got the documented paperwork so we can show this to the other people so they will not doubt your abilities, God. So really, Lord, we're praying to eliminate doubt and stuff like that. And then like they all kicked in too, and it was just, dude. Yeah, go find somebody. Get your group together. Yeah, you make a strike group for prayer. You know, let's start a campaign to put the hospital out of business. You know what I'm saying? Let's put chronic disease. Let's put it down like the rabid dog it is. That would be nice. All right, rock hell. Go get them, y'all.